Right guys, here we are, this time live hopefully, and hopefully bug free. Maybe I shouldn't say that just yet. My name's Colwin Way. This is bringing the Skills Centre to your home. Series of live videos that we're doing to keep you entertained over these mad times and in lockdown and all coming out of lockdown. I've got Finley behind the camera this time. Charlie's day off. Charlie will be back on Thursday. And we're going to look at a few, again, a bit of a technical day really. If you remember last week, even though they weren't live, they were nearly live. We made two projects. No, we didn't. We done one project. We done the spiral goblet. I think the raised bowl was then the week before. Sorry, I'm getting all mixed up because of our technical hiccups. Just briefly, the raised bowl was now finished, and that was a two-parter that we done the week before last. Now, in memory. So we had the two bits of faceplate turning and then the spindle piece here, both all held together with mortise and tenons. One question that someone asked was, you saw me turning most of this and as usual I ran out of time at the end and I finished or wanted to finish this, but I'd already cleaned up the underside. How do I finish the inside? Well, that was fairly simple. I just used a set of pin jaws in the mortise that we made and expanded out into that. Because I wasn't turning, I was only sanding, that was ample grip to do what I needed to do. So that was that one finished. And that's my raised fruit bowl, or raised pedestal bowl. Okay, I hope you've had fun making those. Put that one to one side just for a minute. And then last week, that's right, on the Tuesday we were doing bottle stoppers and bottle openers. Well, I've finished all the bottle openers over the weekend. I've just finished a load of bookmarks from the same church pew oak, if you remember. And the oak bottle stoppers, again, they'll probably be this weekend, and we'll get all those done. And then I'll show you everything all finished after that. And then on Thursday we made the spiral goblet. So, Finn, do you want to just bring the camera a little bit closer? Let's have a look at the spiral goblet and where we are. I've now finished it. I've put some sanding sealer on this one, and a little bit of wax. I use a cellulose-based sanding sealer, and we've used some Hampshire Sheen high gloss wax on this one. I was about to turn it off before we actually went live, but I thought, oh, hang on a sec, let's do it whilst people are watching. We're held in the sea jaws. If you didn't get to see last week, all we done was a little bit of tissue on our live centre to support the inside of the goblet whilst we done the outside. The spirals were then done with our rasps, and I gave you all the numbers on the last video. Again, look back to that one to see all those numbers of the parts. But basically it was using file rasps to create the spiral without the lathe running, and then chainsaw files afterwards just to tidy up that spiral, remembering if you didn't want to create a ribbon, you wanted more of a true sort of like barley twist style, then we need to turn that file around just to chamfer or round over the tops of our little spiral edges there. Okay, so we're going to part that one off in a minute. Then, again, Finn, just pan back to me just a little bit, just from there upwards. We're going to talk about what we're going to make today. So, we're launching, we've got some new products coming out as Axminster tools. One of the new products is a mini handle for some mini tools. Now, we're working again in collaboration with Crown. And so I've got a selection of those tools here, but they're quite neat little tools. I thought we were doing a video to put on the website to show you how these work. And I thought, well, what a great audience, you guys, to show you at the same time we're putting those videos out there on website, to show you how it works in our live stream. So these are the handles. I've got, at the moment we're doing a single stainless steel handle, and that's uses grub screws to locate the individual tools. We are talking about doing sets of aluminium anodized handles as well, color coded, so you can buy a set of handles and then just keep a tool in, a tool for each handle, for instance. That's still in negotiations. We're talking at the moment on that one, but that's the current handle. Nice dinky handles. Now, one of the tools we're going to feature today is a little texturing tool. This was bought by a question really last week from one of you guys watching. Someone wanted to see how the Sorby mini handle in the texturing tool works. I'm working for Axminster Tools, have been all my life. We don't do, at the moment we're not currently doing the Sorby range, but we do a Crown version of the same tool. So we're going to look at how that works. And then if you have the Sorby one, it works in exactly the same way. You'll see yourself. Okay, so we're going to use the Crown one here. And like I say, exactly the same. So that's the texturing, spiraling and texturing tool. And that does come with some quite nice things. I've just been playing before we come on, you know, practicing. And is that all right in focus, Finn?
Yep.
And you can see the sort of spiral that we're getting there. Okay, so that's the sort of thing we'll hope to show you in a moment. The other tools I've got, so miniature, there's a little set there. There's your pen turning kit. So if you're into pens, these are individual tools that you put in the same handle. So skew chisel, parting tool, and a little gouge there. We're going to use these tools on a variety of things today. So I might do a little hollow form and that sort of stuff. Those. And then there's the set of 6 tools. And this is quite a nice little set here. So again, you buy the whole set together, and this is a real range. So we've got a little skew chisel, looks to be about 6mm skew, same size a round nose scraper. There's another little 6mm gouge there, square box scraper, round box scraper, and then you've got a little hollow form tool there, so a little hook swan neck hollow form tool. Okay, so we can look at some of those. I want to do some miniature turning now. There's a little hollow form that I turned in the video to demonstrate those. Again, Finn, are we all right? Are we in focus there?
Yep.
Yeah. So everything I do after the goblet, we're going to do purely with these miniature tools. So this is a little bur oak pot and a little finial we made from the little miniatures, just to pop on top there. Little box with the box tools, so either round bottom or square. For the top, we'll show you this, don't worry. There's a lot to do with these tools, so I'll show you all of these individually in a moment. Okay, so let's start. Let's start by parting this one off, just with a parting tool. So we'll finish this off and then we'll get into miniature stuff. Okay, Finn, do you want to come in nice and close? I want to be able to look down there, down that cut. If things are in the way like dust extractors, and tell me, I'll move it. And we'll pop a little bit of light on the subject just to see down there. We're using a standard parting tool. In fact, no, let's use that. Let's use the miniature tool and handle. So, got a nice little parting tool in this one. So there we are. All I'm going to do with the flat blades, they just go flat face against the screws. And we're just going to open them up, slot that one in. It's a really secure little pinch because it's on a flat face. Okay, and there we are, nice little parting tool. So we'll use that one. Lathe speed to 0, turn the machine on. There we are, that's running there at 1200 revs. So I've made sure that each cut I've made with the parting tool is next to each other. So there's no point where the cut is so thin that the tool can bind up, so you've got a nice wide gap in there. About that point now, I need to bring my hand around and just support the stem. Now, your left hand is now the tailstock. What you find, if you have the tailstock engaged and try and do this, it suddenly binds up and flies across the room. So your hand is flexible, it can move, so you don't get that issue. There we are. Now all that's going to happen, no drama, everything's just going to stop in your hand. There. And that's parting off. A fairly simple process. Then, okay, you can come back now. Fairly simple process. All you need to do then is just clean up the underside here, and let's just so we can stand it up, I'll just pinch off the little burr. It's funny, with parting off, the more aggressive you are, the bigger the area to clean up on the underside will be. So just take your time. Just take it nice and slow and calm. Make sure you've got nothing that can drop down here that can catch in the chuck or live center, anything like that. And that's why I tend to go with bare arms when I'm turning. There's nothing that can grab them. And just be aware everything that's here, you know, glasses on bands. So if you're going to wear glasses, put them on your head. Don't leave them around your neck when you're turning. Make sure they're up, out of the way, and actually on your face. So there we are. Little goblet. Okay, remember that was a Stuart Mortimer inspired goblet. He's really famous for making these guys, far better than that, and much quicker than that and much taller than that. But that's something for you to have a go at. Okay, so a little spiral goblet. We're amassing a load more projects now. I'm not keeping any of them, by the way. They are disappearing. But we're amassing quite a few.
Just quickly, someone was just asking where you got the light from. That's on the headstock.
I got this one at Makers Central. The company is Glowforce. They're known for glues and things like that. But if you search Glowforce on the web, you will find them. Lovely little light, these. The good thing with these lights is they unscrew. They're magnetic. They'll go wherever. I can put them on the tool rest or tailstock if I want to. They'll screw in that way. They can screw in that way. They're a phone charger. I don't take any commission for Glowforce sales. Maybe I should look into it. But there you go. Glowforce, really, really good lights. They are chargeable. It's not an electric one, so I tend to charge it every time I leave the workshop. But yeah, they're good. They're good. Right then, so onwards, micro tools. Let's do, I'll tell you what we'll do first. One of my favourites, a little demonstration I do when I'm demonstrating to clubs around the country. This is the first year of my apprenticeship. I may have done this in a skew chisel practice or demonstration for you, but this is a little lace bobbin. You can translate this into jewellery and hat pins, all those sorts of things, little finials, but it's going to be a nice small bit of turning. This was my first week as an apprentice over 36 years ago. It was all about making lace bobbins. We're going to use a small piece of the plantation grown rosewood, so sonocolin or sonocalin, whatever you want to call it. That's going to run it there. We're going to make a 100mm 4-inch Midland lace bobbin. So lace bobbins, you know what lace bobbins are. Lace bobbins are the piece of turnery that hangs down from an individual thread. That then gets weaved, plaited, whatever you call it, together to make lace. So there's hundreds used on a pillow when they're making an individual piece of lace. So this is my interpretation of a Midland lace bobbin. Midland lace bobbins tend to have what we call spangles hanging down from them. And spangles are basically wooden or glass beads to weight them down. So I'll talk to you all about that as we do it. So just to start with, so I need a skew. So let's get rid of my texturing tool from the handle, and I'm going to work with a large skew. Do you know what? Let's work with the large and the really, really small skew. Probably get away with one, but show you just for my convenience here. I'm going to set both handles up to have a little bit of light.
Did you have to make the same type of bobbin?
So I was making Midland and Honiton. Honiton don't use spangles, they're just a straight bobbin, but Midland's yeah, pretty much same pattern all the time. There's my two skews, so that's about 12 mil, about a ½ inch. This one I reckon is about 6 or 7 mil, so about 1/4 inch almost. But to start with, we're just going to tidy up that face, dab with the tip, and that makes a little hole in that end. Now we're going to bring that through. I want about 100 mil, so let's go there. Tailstock comes up, single pointed tailstock centre in this one. For obvious reasons, I don't want a big ring centre in there, it'd just be too clunky and in the way. So this one here. Well, while we're doing this, one apology that I have to make. There's me, I was raving last Thursday I think it was, about the speed sizes. And I didn't check before I was raving about them. They're actually out of stock at the moment. Speed sizes, if you remember, are those. They would find the size of your jaws, internal, external size of jaws. Just to let you know, everybody, an update. They're going to be, it looks as though, I'm not promising, it looks as though they're going to be in stock this week. Like I say, don't quote me on that. I have checked. It looks like it's likely.
We've got a question here from Martin. He said he uses the Junior, is it Colette chuck?
Yeah.
He said, is a proper chuck better?
Is a proper chuck better? Well, do you know, the junior chuck is a really good chuck for this type of work. If you're turning dowels often, if you're turning these type of things. The thing is with the collet, there's about a millimetre of movement, so you have to know the size of what you're turning. So yeah, that's my only problem with those. You've seen what I do. I'm all over the place size wise and jaw wise. But if you're just into miniatures, doll's house furniture, that sort of thing, no problem at all. Otherwise I would go for a scroll chuck. There we are. So now we're turning good speed there. We're rough down with the skew first. Let's go a little bit faster though. 2000 revs I want to be at really. And I'm going to get rid of my long tool rest.
You're a quarter of an hour in.
There we are. So nice little bit of skew work. We've got, when I say large skew, ½ inch, 12 mil. These, by the way, these are the jaws that I used to use. Now watch my fingers and hands. Without me really realising, my fingers get out of the way because they've been hit so many times with jaws. To be honest, certainly if you've not been turning a long time, don't use these jaws. I would always go for a set of jaws like those because they're guarded. These aren't. These are engineering type jaws. It's what I used to use in my apprenticeship, and I use them a lot now, but I'm used to them. Go for those. You will be far safer with those. Alright, just a bit of advice, safety advice there really for you. Okay, I've done so many of these, so I won't measure, but basically where the thread goes is around about 1 inch, 25 mil. That's where the ladies used to wind their thread. So we'll start at the top here, so a little V cut, and then we'll roll a small bead. Let's go to the smaller skew, and we're just going to round over both sides. I used to use a little skew on this one, and a 1/8 round nose scraper. The round nose scraper was just for the bit that I'm working on now, and we turned that shape into more of a thistle type shape. There, that's enough. Now, here is going to be down to about 1/8 in diameter. That'll be done at the last minute because I don't want to be working on 1/8 diameter whilst I'm trying to roll beads.
We've got a quick question. So from Martin again, he was saying he was given some Sorby micro tools. Will the Axminster blades be compatible?
Oh, so new, Martin, I don't know. I'll tell you what, let's measure. So, let's measure. So I'll measure the round bars, so these, and I'll give you that measurement, then you can check on yours. Seven mil shanks, so that means the handle will take 7 mil. So there we are, you can work that one out if you have the Sorby tool. Rounding the beads, this little tiny skew. So imagine this, first week as an apprentice, never used a skew, didn't really use a lathe, and I was left alone to make hundreds and hundreds of bobbins, and that was fantastic. And I'll tell you why, because I didn't know that there was an issue with a skew. I didn't know, I didn't have any fear of the skew. And if you got a catch on this sort of size material, it's such a small insignificant catch, you barely feel it, so you don't develop a fear. You got good because you're concentrated on such a small project. You got good quite quickly, and it's repetitive work, so you learn, your muscle memory comes far quicker obviously from repetitive work. There we are, so there's the little round bead at the bottom which our spangles would be threaded through, and the way they were threaded through, basically a little 1 mil drill drilled through there, brass wire, and then they would be hung from the brass wire. So now the neck, this is nice and needs to be nice and smooth because the lace maker would hold on to this. They'd be feeding them over and under each other, and it would be quite uncomfortable with your fingers if this is a rough surface. So let's just do that nice little follow. There we go. And now let's go back to our neck.
Can you just repeat what the wood it is?
This is, yeah, I'll spell it for you. SONOKELING. Sonokelin. I call it Sonokelin. A lot of people call it Sonokelin. There we are, last few cuts. There we are, and that's where the thread would be wound. So last thing, we can part this one off. What we would normally do now, in fact let's do it because it's fun. Then in my cupboard there's a jar of stuff called friction polish. It's a white and red jar, chestnut on it. And just a little bit of friction polish. So this one is a 150 grit I'm using here. Rather than a jar, it's a square bottle, I would say. Don't worry if you can't find it, I'll find it. And then let's go for a little bit of 240 and 400. But like I say, you can translate this into jewellery and any small turning really. I'm supporting all the time. That's the one. Supporting all the time. There we are, 400. That'll do us. A little bit of tissue. Tissue, not rag. I don't need rag for this. If I wanted to use rag, I'd make sure the rag was cut up into little small squares. So if it did grab, it didn't take me with it. But for this instance, lots of little bits of tissue. There we are. That's all we would do really. There we are. So we'll part that one off. That's friction polish. That was chestnut friction polish. Really quick. There's few products that are actually made just for us turners, and friction polish is one of them. There we are. So let's part off. Fingers, just to grab it. It'll just stop in your fingers again. There we are, it comes off the lathe. And then normally we would dab again. So little point, stop the lathe, pull that section through to the tailstock, and you start on the number 2 lace bobbin. Obviously we're not going to do that today, but there we are, little Midland lace bobbin. Okay, that was with the 2 skews. There's 2 skew chisels in the miniature back. So, like I say, translate that as you will to other projects.
Is the friction polish long lasting? Sorry.
Right, in the bottle, yes. I've had some of my friction polish bottles I've had for years. In terms of durability on product, no. So for that sort of thing, it's not too bad. It's worn. It's used a lot, you know, they're fed over each other. I would say though, if you're going to use them on things like bottle stoppers, light pulls, that sort of thing, then probably need to go with a different finish. I would probably do, you know, use something a little bit harder wearing, maybe a lacquer, a spray lacquer, acrylic lacquer, melamine lacquer, those sorts of things that are going to withstand moisture. You think about a bottle stopper's going to be, in a wine bottle stop, your hands are going to be gripping it tightly. You know, your hands are quite corrosive to finishes, so you need something that's resistant to the acids in the hand. So yeah, one of the lacquers would be good. Even oils are pretty resistant to a lot of things. What shall we do next? Let's do a little bit of spiraling. So we're going to use I'm going to use a piece of maple, good hard maple. Now, if you've never done any spiraling before, do yourself a favour and use something that is hard wearing.
How many bobbins did you use to make in a day?
Around about 150 I was looking to do in a day.
And could you just explain what the bobbin was used for?
Yep, so the bobbin was used in the lace making industry. And so if you see people making lace nowadays, it's a bit of a dying art, I have to say, but you'll see them sat with the lace being made on a pillow. So you would have a pattern, and then they would put pins through the pattern, and then they would thread the thread around the pins, and they would plait this. But the only way I can describe it, there's the lace makers out there going to be screaming at me now, but basically plaiting these over each other whilst hanging down on the spangles to keep it weighted down. So they would have one individual thread on each bobbin, and then thread and plait them over each other to create the lace. The lace is the end result, but before you get to the lace, you thread and plait over the individual threads. So that was what they were used for making fine lace. Right, and let's do a bit of a spiral. Let's get the texturing and spiraling tool out. There's all sorts of things you can do with that spiraling tool. We're just going to do one, maybe two things. First one's going to be a spiral. So again, translate this to your projects. Stems of goblets like we've just done if you want to, or finials. I'm just simply going to do a basic bit of turning here. So rough down to cylinder first. So I need to turn my lace speed down and then turn it up to, I don't know, here I'm going to turn this about 1800. If I use the rough and gouge first, just to get that down to a cylinder. Let's just have a quick tidy up on that one, just to give us a nice surface. And now we'll look at the spiraling tool. So let's pop it in one of these handles. So there's my spiraling tool. Okay, it's set already with the spiraling blade. That just slots in. So that one's got a round shank on it, and that goes in that 7mm hole. And I'm just going to show you this. So what we've got in here, we've got a spiraling blade in there, but there's also a texturing cutter. So this one here, you can see it's double-sided. This is good for making dots, so sort of the orange peel effect on the outside of a bowl, or scoring. So there's a little spiral effect. Finn, guide me, is that all right?
Yeah.
Can that be seen? Shall I angle it?
Yeah. No, that's,
you can see there. So a little spiraling effect, and again, that sort of thing really screams out colouring as well, sort of some of the pattern pastes, and a bit of colour on there. But that's the sort of spiraling effect that you can get using the texturing edge, and also just a finer version then of the spiraling cutter as well. So let's do a little bit of spiraling. So I need to make sure that I'm actually on the flat of the guide, of this guide here. So you can see underneath there's a flat section that rests on the tool rest, and that needs to be far enough back. Let's come down a little bit. Okay, now one thing I will say here is we want it spiraling that way. If you have it spiraling the other way, this will undo. Okay, so make sure you're spiraling in the right direction, and I'm just going to ease it along first. So the angle, you can, again, if you can see in there, that all right? You can see the graduations here. I'm not that far off of dead flat, but you don't need to be. If you're too upright, you won't get a spiral. You'll just get like the orange peel or the dots. It won't spiral as much. So let's get him turning. And then I'm going to raise the handle to get the cutter cutting. I'm not going to move yet. Let's just get him into there. So there we are. You can see the spiral started. I'm going to start this moving now. Let's have a look at those two. See where we are with those. Slightly finer, that one. That's a little bit deeper on that one. A little bit more drunk. But this one's quite a nice one here. And you'll find that slightly different speeds, slightly different angles will alter that degree of spiral quite easily, quite quick and easy to do. So let's just do sorry, the camera, sorry Finn, I'll move. Let's just do another quick one just to show you how quick. So we'll whip that away. Bring that back. Another one. Let's see what we got. Yeah, so we're getting a nice spiral there, and the more times you go over it, you can recapture that spiral. There we are, we're back in. The more times you go over it, the deeper you're going to get. Alright, so there's our spiraling tool. So I hope that's answered your question on the spiraling tool. We're going to play with it a bit more. I'll tell you what, let's get some texture going as well. I'm going to swap over that cutter, and we're going to use the small texturing cutter. So it's just a case of unscrewing that one, screwing another one back in, and let's change the angle. Turn them over a bit further. So we can get other effects like knurling and things like that. Now, I'm going to look at that. It's going to be a little bit coarse. So what we need to add, once you've done something like that, instead of sanding, which you can do, it's better to use a little wire brush just to brush it off, which you can do either with it still or just a little bit of wire brushing with it running. It's always best to use something like this. Is a suede brush of the old brass brushes. And that just clean out that spiral out without actually sanding it away. All right, so just a couple of little plays there. It's a couple of different types of cut that we've got, but then imagine colouring those, filling them with verdigris pastes and decorating paste, embellishing pastes, which there are a huge variety out there, both from chestnut, from Hampshire Sheen, from Liberon. All those guys do really good embellishing pastes. Okay, so that's a very quick play. We might have a go with that tool on one of the other projects as well.
Just a quick question. Someone's just asking why you're using a friction drive.
Why am I using a friction drive? It's just nice and small. It's out my way. Don't need any pressure. That's the reason. What are we doing now? So let's do, I'll tell you what, we'll do another one of those little hollow forms. So I got another piece of that beautiful bur oak. So we'll just do a nice little hollow form, and we might be able to get to do a little bit of texturing on that. I'll do this in a very simple way. I'll put it between centres. We'll turn the rough shape, including a foot, and then we'll hold that foot and we'll use a bigger drive for that. So let's swap them out and pop that one in. The little pro drive, just because it's a little bit bigger, the timber's a bit lumpier, and I don't want it stopping. We'll just do a little miniature hollow form. I love doing these miniature hollow forms, and the reason being, you do a big piece, just pan back a minute then. Balancing act up on my shelf at the moment. You do a big hollow form, you have to have the right house to display that in the right place. You also need to have the right customer that's got enough money to buy it, because it's not cheap, they take a long time. It's a special bit of wood, all that lovely rippling there, so it's not going to be a cheap project. Whereas these little hollow forms, they then get into the sort of the trinket realm, and then lots of collectors out there love buying small pieces from different makers, and just it's easier to display. You can have these in any house really, so a little miniature hollow form is great. I mean, David Ellsworth, probably one of the most well-known turners in the world, makes a living out of promoting and demonstrating miniature hollow forms. Brilliant little things, and also it's not going to cost you a fortune in timber. So we'll start off. Remember, I'm not using any other tools now bar the miniature tool. So I'm going to go now to the gouge, and we're going to shape that roughly, and then I'm going to use a parting tool. So I'm going to swap that one out at the same time. This is great. If you've got, say you might be doing a little bit of travelling turning. Take your little travel set with you. Demonstrate the parting tool in a minute. And also, if you're into doll's house furniture, pen making, that sort of thing, it just it solves a lot of the problems of having tools with big long handles and small lathes, you know. So I'm just going to rough out rough down the cylinder. I think we're almost there. And then we're going to make a little foot. And that foot needs to be 40mm. And just before I do that though, let's just tidy up.
Are the smaller handles and the cutters sold as sets?
So the handles are sold as one thing. The 12mm skew is sold separately. That one's sold separately. That one's sold separately. And that set there is sold separately as well, so that's one item. Okay, so everything's available separately, apart from the set of 6, they are one item. Right, I need 40mm as my foot, because I'm going to use the ODs, the 112s.
We're 40 minutes in.
And parting tool. I'm going to turn the lathe speed down a little bit because I'm using the calipers to size. There we are, that's it. And there's my size. And it's actually a little dovetail in there, so we're going to use the skew to create a dovetail.
When you say a small hollow, what kind of size do you mean?
Alright, there's your answer. Small hollow form around about, well, anything under 3 inches really, anything under 75mm. Dinky little trinket size hollow forms. Yes, you can use the sort of, go to the 6-7 inch size, absolutely, next size up. That's not too expensive, won't cost too much when you sell them, all that sort of stuff. But something that's affordable for us as turners and your customers as well. There we are, just a tiny little dovetail. I'll take off some of the waste. Okay, now let's mount that in a chuck. That's a very, very rough shape. We're going to refine that now. Pop it in a chuck. Take out the mark left by the centre. You could do these in batches if you wanted. If you had a bit of timber, then you thought, oh, that make a few hollow forms. Do them in batches so you don't have to keep changing chucks around. So there's my nice set of ODs. That's going to grip there really well. Now I'll do the completion of the shape and then we'll just start to drill. On this sort of size thing, I want to make sure that I'm not going to go through the bottom. So I will do a depth hole. So here we go, let's get that top curve. What I like about this one, this gouge, it's sort of a halfway house between a bowl gouge and a spindle gouge. You see me use it to rough down as a bowl gouge and also as a spindle gouge, that twisting action. It's doing sort of several jobs at the moment. I'm just going to pop in there with a parting tool to take away some of that, to get close to the chuck. At the moment I'm a bit too close. So what I'm doing here is a little side scrape with a parting tool. If you've seen the fruit demonstration, you would have seen this method. This is just using the side of the parting tool, the side scrape. I use it a lot on end grain, but it's great for this sort of thing here where space is a little bit of an issue, you know. There we are. So that's the rough shape. So let's think about hollowing the thing out now. So Finn, we're going to come in this way now. Alright, we'll get the light around. I'm gonna be at a bit of an angle, so that's it, brilliant. So let's just stop the machine. We'll have a look and see where we are. I'm gonna just use a small drill to drill to depth, and we'll keep it a little bit open for you and for me, because I've been doing these at speed, guys. So you think about, if you're in your workshop, there's no need to go anywhere near as fast as what we're doing here. It's you know, enjoy the project, take your time. Right, I'm gonna guess where that should go. So it'll be about 10 mil from that tape. So this is going to be my do not pass line. I don't want to go further than this depth, otherwise I'll be through the bottom of the hollow form. Once you've done that with the tailstock can be removed, otherwise it's going to be in your way. And if you've got the ability to move your headstock when you're doing lots of hollow forms, I would put them in a position where you're not having to lean over the bed of the lathe as well, because that at the end of the day will really start to play on your back. Right, I just want to have a look, see what we've got there, because I had the marks from the drive. That's gone. So now we can put in our hollowing tips. So if you remember, that set of 6 contained a round nose scraper, one round nose scraper. That's going to do the bulk of our hollowing. And then in my other handle, I'm going to put the little swan neck scraper as well. Okay. So there we are. 2 little hollowing tools. Someone asked the other day, this week in fact, the difference. They've seen me on the back wall here that I have what we call hollowing probes, and these create little chips when hollowing out, same as this is going to do. And they've also seen me use the cutting type hollower, like a wood cut, the bigger type tools, these sorts of things. What are the difference? Why would you use one over the other? The thing is, when you're using the two, they do produce a very different shaving. This scraping type hollowing, you'll produce chips, so good for small openings. Because if you're creating lovely shavings and something with a small opening, that's going to clog up the inside. So let's. So side scraping, I'm going down, I'm feeling where that drill hole is, and then cutting outwards. Right, you wouldn't believe it, but we're already at the bottom of that hole. Now there's only so far a straight scraper will go before it can't get underneath this rim anymore. So I'm going to do whatever I can with that before bringing the tool rest back and then using that hook. Now when you're using one of these, if you've never used one before, what you need to be able to do is put the tool rest on this flat section. Don't put the tool rest here, because it'll just turn over. So it has to be on this flat section, so we're in line with the actual cutter. before I go any further, I'm just going to check wall thickness. Now, we're going to use these, but if you try and get the wall thickness, you'll never get them around. If you try and pinch them on the wall thickness, that will never work. So what I'm going to do, open them up. So I've got about 12mm gap there. And then look, you can see if I've got a 12mm gap, I've got about 10mm wall thickness still. And that's the same all the way down. So my consistency is not too bad there. So we can afford to remove quite a little bit more. Come in a bit closer with that one. Do another little check. Still fairly consistent, so I can take a bit more away. There's not a lot more to come from up here though, so I'm going to stick with the round nose.
Off the top of your head, do you know how much the set of mini cutters are?
Team Axminster, could you put all the SKUs up please for the mini crown cutters? Part number 107126. 107126.
Also, what speed are you running the lathe at to do the hollow forming?
1600 at the moment. There we are. One more cut on the hook with the follower and we're done. We'll have a little bit of a sand on there. Let me just prove to you where we are. Alright, so we've got a good thickness there. Constant thickness as well. Alright, I can see, because we're at the skew, that they were also nice and thin at that point. So we'll have a little bit of a sand. Before we do that, I'm going to use the parting tool just to tell us where we're going to end this little hollow form. And I'm going to sand this for you. We're going to get a finish on it. A nice little pot. So that parting tool goes back on again.
Could you just say which part of the hook is doing the cutting?
Yeah, quite a mixture of it really. As you travel around that curve, it goes from the tip just to this outside edge here, so that probably 3mm worth of cutting edge. When you come up to this side though, we're at the opposite side, so again we're probably about 3mm back towards, or back away from the center of that cutter. So you're traveling around that all the time. So for that reason, all of that area needs to be sharp. I don't know whether you can see that. Give me direction, Finn.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see where I've sharpened up to. Okay. So yeah, all of that. Once you've got it nice and sharp, there's nothing stopping you using then a diamond file on that top edge to keep them sharp. Alright, that'll just sharpen that edge up, almost like a negative rate scraper. You'll get that calmer, you'll calm it down a little bit.
55 minutes in.
Are we?
Yeah.
What I'm going to do, guys, we're 55 minutes in, and it's led us to a point really where we can transfer over. If I don't do anything more to this, I can finish this on Thursday, because Thursdays is going to be all about hollow forms and about those the probe type cutters. So we're going to do a slightly bigger version of this. So we'll lead on from this one on Thursday and move up in size, and we can compare the different hollow form tools. But I want to keep it within, you know, the abilities of everybody, whether you're watching this as a beginner, an intermediate, or someone's been turning for a long time. I want to make sure everybody can achieve what we're going to do. So there we are, miniature little hollow form. And now we've used the mini Axminster handle with all the miniature crown tools in. We've quite a selection of project there. This one's going to be beautiful. I'll sand it before I see you next time, but we won't part it off or finish it until I see you next time. And then we can put that one next to the pot we're going to make on Thursday. So Finn, if you'd like to pan back. So there we are. There's the selection of the tools we've used. We've just finished up with hollowing. We've done a little bit of spindle work on the lace bobbins. We've rolled some beads with some skews. We've used the barting tool. So a great little selection. Just a reminder, everything is sold separately. You've got a set of 6 miniature tools sold as one item. Handles sold separately. Skew, parting tool, gouge and texturing tools sold separately. You'll see the video that we've done just to promote those. They'll be coming out in the next few days. And in the meantime, or it should be out certainly by Thursday anyway. In the meantime, look forward to seeing you again on Thursday. We're going to be looking at slightly bigger hollow forms then. Until then, enjoy your turning, stay safe, and I'll see you on Thursday, same time, same place, 4 o'clock, my workshop. Bye bye.